The eviction notice arrived on a Tuesday. No fanfare, no dramatic music, just a ping on the United Nations emergency communication system that had been installed after first contact 3 years prior. If one were to rank the most underwhelming apocalyptic moments in human history, this would have taken the gold medal. Dave Fletcher was enjoying his morning coffee and stale donut at the UN's New York headquarters when the notification appeared on his screen. As the newest and most junior member of the Extraterrestrial Communications Office, it was his job to sort through the daily barrage of alien spam. Usually it was advertisements for scale polish or invitations to timeshare nebulas. Probably another request to extend our planet's warranty, Dave muttered, clicking on the notification. His coffee mug shattered on the floor as he read the message. 3 times. To Planet Earth, Sol System Milky Way, primitive designation from the Grand Galactic Council of Elevated Species Subject, notice of immediate eviction and relocation. Due to the scheduled construction of a Class 7 hyperlane through your solar system, all inhabitants of planet Earth are hereby ordered to vacate the premises within 90 standard galactic days. Failure to comply will result in your species being categorized as an obstruction and removed accordingly. Recommended relocation options attached. Thank you for your cooperation. Glory to the Council. Dave's first thought was, my boss is going to kill me for dropping that mug. His second thought was, wait, they're evicting Earth? Within hours, world leaders convened in an emergency session. Aliens from the Galactic Council observed from orbit, expecting panic, riots, maybe even a desperate last stand. What they got instead was bureaucracy. On the Council's flagship, Commander Vlex watched the humans with increasing concern. They're just sitting there. Talking, Vlex reported to Admiral Zarn. No weapons being readied. No mass hysteria. They've issued no formal protest. They're just accepting it. Admiral Zarn's 6 eyes narrowed suspiciously. That's not right. Species facing extinction typically go through the 5 stages of cosmic displacement: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and futile resistance. They've skipped straight to some 6th stage we've never documented. Should we be concerned? Asked Vlex. Extremely, replied Zarn. Monitor everything. Back on Earth, Dave found himself inexplicably promoted. His boss had suffered a convenient nervous breakdown, and suddenly Dave was acting junior deputy assistant to the Secretary of Extraterrestrial Negotiations. Congratulations, said the Secretary General, handing Dave an official badge. You're now Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. But I'm not qualified for. No one is qualified for this, Fletcher. But you discovered the notice, so you get to handle it. Besides, you've watched all those space movies. Dave stared at his new badge. Those were fiction, sir. Well, reality is catching up fast. Your flight leaves in an hour. The aliens sent a shuttle. Pack light. And for God's sake, try not to get our species wiped out. As Dave left the Secretary General's office, he overheard him on the phone. Yes, Mr. President. Phase 1 is complete. The public announcement goes out tonight. Operation Exodus is a go. The Galactic Council chamber resembled what would happen if a Las Vegas casino mated with a botanical garden and their child developed a chrome addiction. Thousands of alien species filled the tiered seating, creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and what sounded suspiciously like armpit farts. Dave stood at the central podium, sweating through his hastily purchased suit. Facing the Council's high arbiters, the 7 ancient beings who looked like a cross between jellyfish and office furniture. Earth representative, boomed the central arbiter, its voice translator making it sound like Morgan Freeman with a head cold. Do you understand why you have been summoned? Dave cleared his throat. Because you're evicting us from our planet? Correct. And what is Earth's response to this legally binding notice? This was the moment the Council had been waiting for. The moment when this primitive species would beg, threaten, or try to negotiate. Instead, Dave consulted his notes, then said, Earth accepts the eviction notice and will comply with the 90-day timeline. Silence crashed through the chamber like a wrecking ball. The arbiter's translucent body pulsed purple with confusion. You accept? Yes, we request only the technical specifications for your recommended transport vessels and the coordinates of our designated relocation planet. Dave could have sworn he heard alien jaws hitting the floor. The council members began whispering frantically among themselves. This is unprecedented, said the arbiter. Most species fight the eviction. Dave shrugged. Well, we're not most species. As the council huddled in emergency consultation, a small green alien with enormous eyes approached Dave. She wore what looked like a janitor's uniform bedazzled with official-looking badges. You're either the bravest or the stupidest species we've encountered, she said, extending an appendage. I'm Crix, Junior Diplomatic Liaison. They've assigned me to help with your transition. Dave Fletcher. Junior everything else. Crix leaned in. No one just accepts eviction. What are you humans planning? Nothing. We're complying. Right, Crix winked all four of her eyes somehow. Complying. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the world leaders had gathered in a bunker beneath Geneva. The acceptance protocol is working perfectly, said the Russian president, lighting a cigar. Fletcher performed admirably. The American president nodded. Admiral Chen's analysis was spot on. Their psychology can't handle willing compliance. They're already paranoid. An Operation Exodus? Asked the Chinese premier. The Indian Prime Minister smiled. Ahead of schedule. The population is taking the news with remarkable calm. Almost like we've been preparing for this possibility for decades. The room filled with knowing laughter. Back on the council station, Dave was shown to his quarters by an increasingly nervous Crix. You know, she said casually, there are ways to fight this. Loopholes in galactic law. We're good with complying, Dave replied, unpacking his toothbrush. Crix's anxiety visibly increased. But it's your home world. And we're leaving it. As instructed. Later, Crix reported to Admiral Zarn, who had requested personal updates on the human. There's something wrong with them, she insisted. No sadness, no bargaining, just efficient acceptance. Admiral Zarn stared out the viewport at the blue planet below. Keep watching Fletcher. I want to know what humanity is hiding. Earth transformed with disturbing efficiency. In major cities, massive spacecraft began taking shape, not crude, last-minute affairs, but sleek vessels that looked suspiciously well-designed for a civilization that supposedly only learned space travel was possible 3 years ago. Dave returned to Earth with Crix, who had been assigned as the official council observer. Her assignment, report on any suspicious human activity. The problem was, human cooperation was itself becoming increasingly suspicious. These ships, Crix whispered as they toured the New York construction yard. They're too advanced. Dave shrugged. We've always been good at building things when properly motivated. But you've incorporated Centaurian gravitational dampening or Gellian life support systems. These weren't even in the technical specifications we provided. We made some improvements based on the specs. Dave smiled blandly. We're quick studies. Admiral Zarn received Crix's reports with growing alarm. The humans were packing up entire cities, efficiently cataloging their cultural artifacts and preserving genetic samples of their biosphere. Nothing about this resembled the chaotic evacuation of a species facing extinction. They're up to something, Zarn hissed, pounding a tentacle on his command console. No species just accepts extinction. Perhaps they don't see it as extinction, his aide suggested. They seem quite confident about their relocation. That's what worries me, Zarn replied. Check the relocation planet again. What's so special about Kepler 186f that they're so calm about going there? While touring one of the massive evacuation ships, Dave literally bumped into a woman who was cursing at a control panel. Stupid Arcturian interface, she muttered, smacking it with a wrench. Who designs a system that requires 3 hands? Most Arcturians have 3 hands, Dave offered. She turned, revealing grease-smudged features, wild red hair, and the kind of intense gaze that suggested she could either build a starship or dismantle you with equal enthusiasm. You must be the famous Dave Fletcher, she said, wiping her hand on her overalls before extending it. Tessa Blackwood, chief engineer for the Exodus fleet. Dave shook her hand. Famous is a strong word. Not according to the aliens. They're watching your every move. Dave glanced at Crix, who was examining a panel across the room with suspicious intensity. Are we on schedule? He asked quietly. Tessa grinned. Ahead of it. Phase 2 is nearly complete, and Phase 3 preparations are already underway. The Council is getting nervous. Good. Tessa's eyes sparkled. Let them sweat. By the way, your new quarters are ready. Deck 7, Section C. Admiral Chen wants you there for the final briefing tomorrow. As they walked away, Crix hurried to catch up. Who was that? Just our engineer, Dave said innocently. Tessa's making sure everything's up to code. Crix's skin rippled with concern. She looked like she was sharing secrets. Just ship gossip. Apparently the food synthesizers keep making everything taste like chicken. The day of departure arrived with eerie precision. Billions of humans boarded thousands of ships with the kind of orderly procedure that would make a military drill sergeant weep with joy. Admiral Zarn watched from orbit, all 6 eyes twitching with suspicion. It's a trap, he declared. It has to be. The Exodus fleet launched from Earth on exactly the 89th day of the eviction notice, 1 day ahead of schedule. 5,000 massive ships, each carrying millions of humans and the condensed cultural and biological heritage of their planet, formed a perfect geometric pattern as they accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. From his observation post, Admiral Zarn's anxiety had evolved into full-blown paranoia. Look at them, he hissed to his command staff. Perfect formation. No stragglers. No last-minute chaos. They're behaving like a species with centuries of interstellar travel experience. Perhaps we underestimated them, his science officer suggested. No one adapts this quickly. Zarn slammed his tentacle down. I'm initiating a Level 9 surveillance protocol. I want every communication monitored, every ship scanned. On the flagship of the human fleet, the ironically named So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, Dave found himself sharing a command deck observation room with Tessa. Below them, Earth grew smaller by the minute. Doesn't it bother you? Dave asked quietly. Leaving home? Tessa handed him a steaming cup of coffee. Who says we're leaving home? We're taking it with us. Not the actual planet. A planet is just real estate, Dave. Humanity is what matters, and we're all here. She nodded toward the fleet displays. 5,000 ships, carrying everything that makes us human. And the plan? Tessa smiled. Right on schedule. The Council's watching us like hawks, exactly as Admiral Chen predicted. They're so busy looking for weapons or signs of resistance that they're missing what's right in front of them. Crix entered the observation deck, her green skin slightly paler than usual. Your people are strange, Fletcher, she said, joining them at the viewport. There should be mourning. Grief. Instead, I hear singing and something called party games on Deck 12. Dave shrugged. Humans are adaptable. We're making the best of the situation. But you just left your homeworld. And we're heading to a new one. Life goes on. Crix's eyes narrowed. The Council is suspicious. Admiral Zarn has ordered additional scans of your fleet. They won't find anything, Tessa said cheerfully. We're just humble refugees following orders. As Crix left, clearly unsettled, Tessa pulled Dave into a maintenance corridor. Phase 3 begins tonight, she whispered. The Council's found exactly what we wanted them to find, nothing. They're looking for weapons for rebellion. They have no concept of what we're actually doing. Dave nodded. How are the other preparations? The siege ships launched 6 months ago, completely undetected. They'll arrive at their destinations long before anyone realizes what's happening. On the Galactic Council's flagship, Admiral Zarn was reviewing the latest scans with increasing frustration. This can't be right, he muttered. No hidden weapons. No secret military vessels. Their technology is exactly what we'd expect from their development level, just more efficiently implemented. Perhaps they truly are just complying, his aide suggested. Zarn slammed his tentacle down. No species just gives up their homeworld. They're planning something. I can feel it. The aide hesitated. There is one anomaly in the data, Admiral, their population count. What about it? According to our initial surveys, Earth had approximately 8.2 billion humans. But the fleet's life sign readings total only 7.9 billion. Zarn's eyes widened. Where are the missing humans? Unknown, Admiral. But there's something else. Before the evacuation began, we detected unusual launch activities from Earth. Small vessels, dismissed as test flights for their evacuation ships. Find those ships, Zarn ordered, his voice cold. Now? Yes. 2 months into the journey to Kepler 186f, the Exodus fleet entered an unremarkable star system for what was officially described as routine maintenance. The massive ships arranged themselves around a reddish planet that wasn't on any official itinerary. Admiral Zarn's surveillance vessels watched from a distance, recording everything. What are they doing? Zarn demanded. That's not their designated relocation planet. Unknown, Admiral, his science officer replied. But they're deploying something to the surface. On the surface of the planet, unofficially dubbed New Perth by some homesick Australians, Dave and Tessa stood watching as massive terraforming equipment hummed to life. Machines that had been hidden within the refugee ships were transforming the barren landscape before their eyes. Phase 3, Tessa said with satisfaction. 50 simultaneous terraforming operations across 50 habitable planets. By this time next year, humanity will have more worlds than we know what to do with. Dave watched in awe as the machines began generating Earth-like atmosphere. The Council really had no idea? They still don't. They're so focused on looking for weapons or rebellion that they never considered we might have other plans entirely. Tessa grinned. Admiral Chen called it perfectly. When forced to leave home, don't fight, expand. Back on the Council vessel, Zarn was frantically reviewing the newfound data. These aren't refugee ships, he realized with dawning horror. They're colony ships, terraforming vessels. The humans aren't accepting exile. They're using it as an excuse to claim new worlds. His aide looked confused. But surely that's allowed? The eviction notice didn't prohibit them from settling elsewhere. You don't understand, Zarn hissed. We've enforced this same eviction protocol on 17 other species in the past century. Every single one fought back and was eventually contained to a single relocation planet. The humans are the first to use it as a springboard for expansion. But that's legal, the aide said hesitantly. Technically, yes, that's the problem. Meanwhile, Crix had discovered Dave and Tessa on the surface of New Perth. This wasn't in the relocation plan, she said, her voice a mix of awe and accusation. We're just making a slight detour, Dave explained innocently, setting up a backup colony, just in case. This isn't a backup, Crix gestured at the massive operation underway. This is a full planetary colonization. And according to my information, you're doing this on multiple planets simultaneously. Tessa smiled. Humanity has a saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The Council will see this as deception, Crix warned. We haven't broken any rules, Dave pointed out. The eviction notice said to leave Earth. It didn't specify where we had to go. That's technically correct, Crix admitted. The best kind of correct, Tessa added cheerfully. As the truth dawned on Crix, her expression shifted from suspicion to a reluctant admiration. You never planned to fight the eviction. You planned to use it. Earth was getting crowded anyway, Dave shrugged. We were already developing this technology for Mars. The Council just gave us motivation to think bigger. And those missing people from your population count? Tessa grinned. Advanced teams. They've been quietly heading to promising systems for months now. Small ships, easily overlooked in the chaos of evacuation preparations. Crix looked between them. then burst out laughing, a sound like marbles in a blender. The Council has no idea what they've unleashed, do they? The emergency session of the Galactic Council could have been scored with dramatic pipe organ music. Representatives from hundreds of worlds watched in stunned silence as Admiral Zarn presented his findings. The humans didn't resist eviction because they never saw it as a punishment, Zarn explained, his tentacles gesticulating wildly. They saw it as an opportunity. In the 3 months since leaving their homeworld, they have established colonies on 57 planets across 23 star systems. That's impossible, gasped one of the High Arbiters. Their technology isn't advanced enough. It wasn't, Zarn corrected. But they've been rapidly adapting technologies from every species they've encountered. Their engineers have an uncanny ability to improve upon designs they barely understand. Can we stop them? Asked another arbiter. Legally, no, admitted the Council's legal advisor, a being that resembled a sentient law book with tentacles. The eviction notice only specified they had to leave Earth. It placed no restrictions on where they could relocate or how many planets they could colonize. Besides, Zarn added grimly, they've distributed their population too widely. There is no single target we could pressure. Humanity has effectively made itself extinction-proof. On New Perth, now sporting blue skies and the beginnings of oceans, Dave and Tessa sat on a hillside watching the sunset. A communication device between them projected the Council proceedings they'd hacked into. They sound upset, Dave observed. Wouldn't you be? Tessa laughed. They thought they were containing a primitive species to a single planet. Instead, they gave humanity the push we needed to spread across the stars. Dave's communication device pinged. Message from Admiral Chen. The Council has officially recognized all 57 human colonies as legitimate settlements under galactic law. We're now officially a multi-planet species with full Council voting rights. And Earth? Tessa asked. The hyperlane construction has been indefinitely delayed. Apparently, the Council suddenly discovered an alternative route that doesn't require demolishing our solar system. They both burst out laughing. Crix approached, carrying something that looked suspiciously like a picnic basket. Room for one more. I've brought something called wine that your people seem very fond of. Always, Dave moved over. How's the Council taking it? Poorly, Crix grinned. Admiral Zarn has been reassigned to monitor an uninhabited gas giant in the Cygnus sector. I, on the other hand, have been promoted to senior diplomatic liaison to humanity. Congratulations. Tessa raised her makeshift cup. To new beginnings. And to the most terrifying response to an eviction notice in galactic history, added Crix. You know they're rewriting the protocols because of you? No more eviction notices. From now on, it's polite requests for relocation negotiation. 5 years later, the Galactic Council chamber looked quite different. Humans now occupied a prominent section, their numbers having grown as their colonies flourished. Dave, now Earth's official ambassador, stood at the central podium addressing the assembly. Humanity would like to propose a new initiative, he announced. A cooperative terraforming program to restore habitability to worlds damaged by industrial exploitation. The chamber buzzed with interest. In just 5 years, human terraforming technology had become legendary. In the observation gallery, Tessa, now Admiral Blackwood of the Human Expansion Fleet, sat beside Crix, who had become something of a celebrity for her early recognition of humanity's potential. You planned this all along, didn't you? Crix asked quietly, even before the eviction notice. Tessa smiled enigmatically. Let's just say humanity has always looked to the stars. We just needed a little push. The Council is still traumatized, Crix chuckled. They've never encountered a species that turned exile into empire building. That's why they were afraid, Tessa replied. Not because we fought, but because we didn't have to. Earth wasn't our cage, it was just our starting point. As the Council voted unanimously to approve the human proposal, Admiral Zarn, recently returned from his exile and demoted to observer status, watched with all 6 eyes narrowed in suspicion. I still don't trust them, he muttered to his aide. No one does, the aide replied cheerfully. That's why everyone's voting yes. The galaxy has learned an important lesson about humanity. What's that? Never underestimate a species whose response to extinction is to say thank you for the opportunity. In the grand scheme of galactic history, the attempted exile of humanity would be remembered as the greatest miscalculation any advanced civilization ever made. The universe, it turned out, wasn't ready for humans, but humans had been more than ready for the universe.